some of the highest academic standards in the whole of the city. Ethan Clamp lives just inside the border of Sutton Coldfield.
Not goal of the season.
In his neighbourhood, a few streets can make all the difference.
So we've been in this school for 7 years now, and it's been nice to have a little change and see new people.
Everything would be new and good.
I really like Fairfax because even though they're not a grammar school, there is a lot of sports there and it looked really new.
Ethan lives with his mother Alison. Having looked at many local secondary schools together, they still have not made up their minds.
Tell me about your choices, or is that the wrong word?
It is the wrong word, really, isn't it?
What's the right one?
Lottery. My lottery tickets.
Inhale, raise the arms, raise the head, raise the trunk. Exhale, turn the palms forwards, fold forwards, Uttanasana.
We're not Catholic, so we don't get into Catholic schools. We're not Islamic, so we don't get in the Islamic schools. Not girl, so we don't get in the girls' schools. And then you're then looking at your preference, your distances and things like that. So actually it sort of goes in and in and in. Although you've got a whole book of schools, there's actually in reality only probably a choice of one or two. There was a comprehensive school that we really liked. It's a school called Fairfax, but we're probably out of the catchment area. So it's very frustrating because you go and look at this, it's almost like taking a child to a sweet shop and having them outside the sweet shop. Oh, you might be able to have this. Oh, no, you can't.
Raise the arms up.
With no guarantees that Ethan will get into one of the local high-achieving comprehensives, they're hedging their bets and also applying for 2 state grammar schools.
Hand onto the shin, turn to the right, raise the right.
Although I'm not a huge fan of the grammar system, there's far more sports facilities and opportunities in grammar schools still. And my son's very sporty.
It would be very different if we didn't go to a grammar school, really. Kind of like less, like not as much facilities. And
the only bad thing I think is about grammar schools, you have to do the homework the next day. Some schools.
We get ages for ours. And some people still forget it. Really, secondary school is the start to decide what you're going to do when you're older. They're going to have to be really try hard in that school to do what they really want to achieve.
Ethan, who hopes to get into one of the city's 8 grammar schools, will have to sit the 11+ exams.
I got these papers.
Alison is having him tutored once a week.
They're like the answer sheets and things. You have proper sheets. Well, my mum, my granddad can't get them. They're quite hard to understand unless you get taught properly by them.
The whole thing is a dreadful system. So he's been tutored now for a year, as everyone else has from his school that's doing grammar.
And is that against what you want, really, then? It goes against instinctively?
It does. Yeah, because it's only giving the opportunity to a certain type of child, I think. The ones whose parents are in the position to afford the tutoring.
And if you got a school you didn't want, what would you do?
Sell the house, move. It's such an important thing, isn't it, for kids to be happy at school and to have opportunities. And if you end up in a school and there's a local school that we would get in that has police permanently on site, and I don't want that.
Newtown, an inner-city area serviced by some schools struggling with bad reputations, where 4 out of 5 children live below the poverty line and gang culture is a reality.
Jemiah? Jemiah? What are you doing?
homework.
Are you stuck?
28-year-old Simone left her Birmingham school without any GCSEs. Both her brother and sister went on to university. She is hoping Jemiah will follow their example.
I know he lacks concentration. But I was like that, actually, so... He tries to do it right. really quick so he can get on the computer. So he thinks that if he says, yeah, Mum, I'm finished, then I'll say, all right, go on, then you can do what you're doing. No, it don't go like that. I'll check it and see if he's right. Go and figure out what you're trying to spell, because everything that you're trying to do is back to front. So you know this, so why are you doing it again? You like pushing it, innit, Jammies? Keep pushing, son, keep pushing. Because your PlayStation won't see you today either. You heard. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't like school. I prefer to be out on the road, really. I liked being about. But obviously, if I could turn back time, then maybe I would have stayed at Edmund Campion and did what I had to do. Because I left school with nothing. So that's not really a good look. So that's probably why I'm so harsh with Jemiah. I want him to stay in school. I want him to prosper in everything that he does. I just don't want him to be a loafer on the roadside.
I'm excited to go to secondary school. I'm not nervous. But the only thing I don't like about secondary school and I like about primary school, you don't have to pay for your dinners. So I'm just gonna knock it down and get good grades and then get to a good college and then get a good job. Draw a circle around that, all the way around here. That's all the violet bits. All the things up there is alright.
Why, what's it like there?
Quiet. Around here's a gang. Down there's a gang. Everywhere's a gang. Everywhere. If you relate to somebody you hate, they still get you. If you're not related to anybody they hate, they'll leave you alone.
Worried about the postcode turf wars in her local area, Simone is looking at schools outside of her neighbourhood. College High is an undersubscribed school whose reputation is improving. Notorious for its past problems of underachievement, 11 years ago it was rated the second worst school in the country. But now it's become an academy with a new name and a new head.
5 years ago, the school didn't have as good a reputation as we would have liked. I see one or two people nodding. We're not the school that we were 5 years, or 3 years, or 2 years ago. Look at the results. Our results have, I was going to say quadruple, they haven't even quadruple, folks. We're on 70% 5A to C's.
There we go.
You see it?
I'm just thinking about what secondary school I want to do.
What sort of things come to your mind about it?
That I want to leave when I'm 16 and go to college. That one.
Well done, yeah. Do you know what that says?
Albania.
Very close, yeah, Albania.
I want to be a boxer, basketball, doctor, plastic surgeon, hockey player.
Spain.
Yeah, went to Spain then, can you find it?
American football player. The Olympics.
Jemiah,
Mom,
did you hand your form in
what for me?
for the rowing competition?
Yeah. Yep, yeah, right.
College High now even has a new name, North Birmingham Academy, and it's impressing Jemiah.
It means like what they use in CFO. So when you put something in front of me, I want to come the school.
You like this school?
When do you get detention?
When do you get detention?
No, where?
In your classroom, I assume.
Jane, you have to get detention in your classroom.
What's with you in detention? Shall I put you in detention when we get home? Well, shut up then. Let's make it.
Whilst Jemiah is set on going to North Birmingham Academy, Simone is yet to be convinced and is keen on putting her old Catholic school, St Edmund Campion, first.
There's just certain things about Edmund Campion that I prefer.
The homework, that's why. Stop. You have to admit it now.
The homework.
Yeah.
That's one reason. That's one reason. But you're gonna get homework at whichever school you go to.
But not every day like you
The majority of time you will have homework.
Yeah,
4 times out of 5 you will have homework.
I know.
It doesn't really matter which school you go to because they're all going to be the same.
No.
Not one school's gonna give you more homework than another.
Yeah, Edmund Campion.
No.
It's the end of September, and the first batch of preference forms are collected from primary schools to be taken back to the Education Authority. For Birmingham families, the pressure to decide is mounting, with only 2 weeks left to make their choices and return their forms.
We have 300 primary schools. It's really very much we're waiting with bated breath for the forms to come in.
Okay, thanks very much.
We're expecting around 14,000 preference forms. Every single envelope from each primary school is checked. Half of the team will remain with that checking process, the filing of those forms, making sure they've been filed away in alphabetical order. We do that so that parents will ring up on Tuesday and say, have you got my form? And we want to make sure that we can reassure parents that they're here and they're in this office.
King Edward's first,
Yeah.
Fairfax,
Second.
Bishop Vesey,
Yeah.
Plantsbrook,
Yeah.
John Wilmot,
Yeah.
put Arthur Terry down.
Why?
Yeah. Well, because we've got to fill in 6 places. So we've got, okay, you happy? Where's your school?
That one.
Yeah, submit application. There we go. Done.
Yeah. If it's someone else's choice, it's nicer. Because you don't have to think about it anymore.
You've done what you can do, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
It crossed my mind that actually you could play the system. And then I thought, no. I mean, people do fiddle it. And say that they live there and all this sort of stuff.
October, 7:30 a.m, and Julie Newbold is on the hunt for families who may have been less than honest when filling in their preference forms.
We have a number of families where we're a little bit unsure about the home address of the child, where the child actually lives. We can't confirm that's the child's only and main residence. So to help families to help them to be able to establish that's where their child is actually living, we say in our letter that we may do a home visit. I did have a case a couple of years ago where the family had rented a 1-bedroom apartment very, very close to the school. But unfortunately, the mother stood in the local Asda superstore in the aisle, telling her friend, and other people overheard. And then, more than one family wrote in and said that this person had been stood, explaining this is how you get round the system, which just seems bizarre, really. So, of course, we received these complaints, we followed it up, and it subsequently found that the mother wasn't living at the apartment very close, and the place was withdrawn, which was very distressing for her child. There's no answer from the home, so it's 7:45 in the morning, so you would expect the child and his family family to be here getting ready for primary school. I mean, that's the only way we can really check. They lived in a very large house. The family have indicated that they've moved to this apartment, which is a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. We know that they're 1 or 2 bedroom apartment from people who live locally. It's quite unusual, isn't it, for a family of 4 to move from a large house in the countryside to a house here. But I'm not 100% happy about this because this is an apartment block. There's no way I can actually knock on the door. Never mind. We'll contact the family again, and as I say, this is to help them to identify where they're living. So we'll go on to another family that we need to investigate, and we'll have to just come back to this one. Right, so we're off to the next address now. This family are unable to send us any proof because the mother of the child has said she's gone to live with her mother. She can't provide any medical evidence of the child, but she's absolutely adamant that she's moved in with her mother. Hello, in please. Is she here?
No.
Is she at her other house?
Come here.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry to bother you. I'll let you get on. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye. He doesn't live there, does he? No, he doesn't. No, you could tell by the father. Yes. And who was he? I don't know. So you're not living with him at the moment? But you've said in your letter that you are living with him. What I need to advise you of is that the school that you've put as your first preference, the head teacher and the governing body, they will withdraw the place if they offer it to you and it's subsequently found he's not living there permanently. So shall I ask her to send in proof?
Do you have any empathy for people who may feel that they've got no other choice but to do this because they don't feel like they've got a good enough school that they live near?
I suppose I do, but I think about number 1 on the waiting list, and that child has been disadvantaged, and that child should have been offered a place, and he or she hasn't been offered a place because somebody has given us false information. If a child is allocated a school place and they're not living at the address where they say they're living, then they have taken the place off the child who's number 1 on the waiting list.
In Newtown, Simone and Jemiah are still undecided about what school to put first. His grandmother Shirley is worried about his secondary school options too, and has come round to help Simone decide.
Have you tried to find out where the schools are on the league tables and things like that? No. Well, perhaps that would have been a good place to start.
Ain't that your job?
Are you quick to tell me that Jemiah's yours?
Yeah, he is.
Okay. So far we can only agree on 2 schools, which is Edmund Campion and Jemiah's choice of College High. Simone is for putting Holt. Simone's idea of Holt is that there's, without being racist, there's a lot of Asians at Holt School. She's saying that who are all the dentists, doctors and what's not, they're predominantly Asians. I'm saying, she says that, he'll be mixing with kids who will get their heads down and achieve good qualifications. I'm saying, if Jemiah isn't as bright as them, will he be left behind?
Jemiah's choices are further limited as Simone and Shirley refuse to consider the one local Catholic school he's eligible for.
We chose Catholicism as his faith, and we'd like to see him progress through a faith-based church and school. Yes, St John Wall is a Catholic school, but it's also a school that's in a postcode which could, you know, apparently become a problematic place for him to be.
We're in different postcodes, so that's not a good look for Jemiah. We're in B19, and that's B21. B19 and B21, they're not really like, we don't cross paths, yeah? So for him...
Gang culture. B19 v B21, you're supposed to stay in your own postcodes, don't cross over into theirs. Consequences would be grave. You know, that's for older children, but they do recruit young children.
So do you think it is harder for black boys?
Depends which area they're coming from. It really, really does depend on which area they're coming from.
Simone has just 1 week left to get her form back to the Education Authority. With just over half of all secondary school forms coming in, Julie and the Admissions and Appeals team have a 6-week deadline to read and check every single form and accurately input over 90,000 preferences.
Been filing for about 8 hours today, so it's great that this pile's left, but we've got another 2 ready piles to come for tonight.
They must also deal with what the department refer to as unrealistic preference forms.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the form at the moment, and you've put down 4 schools, and you kind of live a little bit too far from those schools. You don't meet the admission criteria.
Every year, and I've been here 8 or 9 years now, every single form that we have in, that's a child. And I think that's a lovely feeling, and we want to give that child due consideration, make sure that we get it absolutely accurate.
You've actually got 2 boxes where you haven't put a school, 5th and 6th.
And you've put down one school 3 times.
If they're totally unrealistic, we'll try and identify them.
Yeah, unfortunately, cousins isn't part of the admission criteria. You know, siblings, it's got to be direct brother or sister only.
That's an incredible amount of responsibility for me and my team to make sure that we give each of these children, I can almost visualise them, the due care and consideration to make sure what we're putting on this system is correct.
That school has a lot of girls that live nearer to the school than yourself.
You live actually more than 6,000 metres, 6 kilometres from the school.
Third choice. So you're saying no to Holt?
I'm not saying no, but I was giving you...
Yeah, but he doesn't even want it on there either. So what's your third choice?
After rejecting Holt, where they worry Jemiah may be left behind, Simone and her mother have made their final choices.
We have no 3rd, 4th, 5th or 6th choices because we don't feel that any of the other schools are suitable for him at this point.
What do you think your chances are of getting either one of these schools?
Slim, but we're hopeful. We can only try. If all else fails, then